That's seen better days. Right, muckers, well, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, good to have you along. A lot of you have been asking me, when we do the will it starts, will I go into a little bit more detail about why I do what I do and how I do it, and you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, how
This one here is your positive.
Yeah.
So you go positive straight to there.
Yeah.
You know, not all of you, as I realised, are from a mechanical background. But this is going to be a cracker of a will it start. Now, a year ago, almost to the day, I rocked up here because I was told that in there, you can just see it, was a Weatherall loading shovel. And it had been parked up for 17 years, obviously 18 years now. They'd parked it up at the end of the season, but in the meantime, they went out and bought a bigger, newer loading shovel to replace that, and that got left there. And over the last 18 years, nature took its course and has just smothered it in brambles and thorns and all that sort of stuff. The first thing I did last year was I rocked up here and I knew I had to cut my way into this, because that's like 8 or 9 feet tall. However, things didn't go exactly how I'd planned. They're fairly violent, these old things. As you can see. Anyway, we're getting there. Strength to get over that. It'll soon be dark, but I've got to a point where we can see actually what it is.
It's a piece of junk.
I got to about 10 minutes from finishing, and as I said, we're losing the light, and I just thought I'll just get this last bit done, and I hit something in the undergrowth. I don't know if it's steel or concrete, whatever it was, it folded that steel cutting blade up like a piece of plastic. It was a couple of days later, I returned here hoping to carry on and just get it finished, but the heavens opened up and it just rained, and it continued to rain for weeks. Now, at this point, until we remove the side panels off the engine, we don't know if it's sea solid, if the engine's full of water, or that the frost has cracked the block or whatever. We don't know.
It's the way she goes. Sometimes she goes, sometimes it doesn't.
Now, if we can get a spanner on the crank pulley and get that engine to turn freely, that'll be brilliant. And then, muckers, the next thing is, well, you know, will it start? So what I want to do first is get these engine panels off. Now I'm just going to get a pair of gloves and a pair of cutters, because there's still a lot of intertwined stuff, and that's dead, but yeah, bugger all that. And you can see it's all through the engine cover here and all sorts. These are meant to be proper, and they are actually very good work gloves, sort of riggers, but they look like I'm going to go and have a session in goal playing football. So what we seem to have is a Perkins 6354, which It's a very, very good engine. On the top there as well. Right, I think that for the moment should do us. We can see what we've got. I'm not going to get poked in the eye by some stray bramble. As I said, we've got a Perkins 6354 6-cylinder, as used in lots of stuff, lots of excavators, lots of tractors. Just such a brilliant engine. But we're hoping that it's such a brilliant engine that it hasn't seized up. Oh! Come and have a look at this. Ready? Watch down there. You got the crank pulley. Oh, Muck, is this is brilliant. I didn't even have to. I was going to put a wrench on there because I thought she might need a little bit of a thing. But I want you to take note of something. This was the story behind this, is that it'd be now 18 years ago. This was the mainline loader here. That's what they used all the while for loading grain and sugar beet and all sorts. And it got stood up one season like 20 years ago and got water down in the engine, and they went to go and start it, and she'd sort of had a standard seizure. So took the head off, put some diesel all in it, got her free, because as I said, it hadn't seized through heat and I think it just stood and got a bit of water in. Put another head gasket on, put the head back on, and she went away, and that was it. And I think it ran for another 2 years. 18 years later, we are here. Would have been 17 years later if I could have got in a bit further last year, but here we are. We're now 18 years down the line. And it's still free. Now, if you can see up there, there's a plastic bottle on that exhaust. That is what has saved this engine. Just 2 minutes of thought. Quickly cut the top off a bottle, stick it over, and that has stopped the ingress of water. Not the best, and I think we're here just in time, because that probably wouldn't have done a lot more, actually, looking at that. Oh, that is good. I'm right pleased. There we go. That's that there. And hopefully this will come off and be the same as the other side. It is, that's good. That's had the old muffler delete there, so oh great, you've got all this going up near the starter motor. That'll do it the world of good. Right, now, lift pump. We should all know about lift pumps now, if you watched my video. So, all right, let's have a look at this. Somehow this has been smashed. So what do? We will join that and do away with the filter for the time being, so we can get fuel up. And yeah, that's a shame. I wonder if that was... It could simply be that there was water in there, you know, because that's where you see if there's any water. And if the water was in there and it froze, as it's been stood there for the last 18 years, that could have done that. But that's a shame. Here we are. But we have to have a really good seal between those two, as I said, because it's under a vacuum as such, just pulling, you know, from the tank, and therefore it will it'll draw air if we don't do something about it. We'll just suck a load of air into the system. And then I suppose we've got to have a go at removing all this stuff in here.
Here you go, more negative waves. Have a little faith, baby. Have a little faith.
Right, so with that now cleared out, I can get in there and have a look at what we've got, see if there's a starter switch or whatever. If it is, but it doesn't work, we can go direct to the starter, as you know. There was a thing here. It says, yeah, it's an L61D FE Weatherall Limited. We're Welwyn Garden City, Hertfordshire, so just outside London. I didn't know that. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do, just before I have to go and get some bits, I'm going to see if I can take this off here and put it directly in the back there, if they are the same size fitting, which I would assume they should be because they're both inlets, but we'll see. Now, one thing that was brought up in a previous video, someone asked, it was a perfectly reasonable question, and I'll tell you what, it was on One Lonely Farmer's video when we did the John Deere. Why didn't we change the fuel filters before we did the Will It Start? So there's glass filter units that they have on the John Deere. You take that all off, you put an element in there. That's clear. So it's got this fuel in there. Now here's the reason, and I've said this and I'll say it time and time again. When we're doing these, it's the biggest thing is due diligence. Now, I don't know if this has got a fuel, well, it has got a fuel problem, we can see that. But I don't know if there are any other fuel issues. I don't know if this has a pinprick in it. I don't know if there is a blockage in the tank. But if I leave everything as it is, and look, the fuel filter isn't rotten out. That's broken. That is an issue. We have to do something about that. So, okay, there's one issue. Okay. If I swap another fuel filter on and I don't get all the air out, okay, of the system, I've introduced a problem, haven't I? So I may have only had one problem, which I solved. Then I changed the fuel filter out and I assume I got all the air out. The point is, you're introducing another potential issue and you've got to keep that to a minimum. So if I don't touch the fuel filter, it looks okay and it'll end as a filter at the end of the day. For getting this running, okay, it'll be fine. Now, if there is a pinprick or a leak or something that's drawing air in, 99% of the time will tell me it's not going to be the fuel filter. Why? Because I haven't touched it. The only thing I've touched is this point here. So I can concentrate on that. Do you see what I mean? If you start messing around with too much before you know if it even runs, you are introducing potential issues. And you can then just be chasing your bloody tail all the while. Now we've got to see if these two will actually join together or go into the back. I think they're the same. They should be the same type of fitting. So hopefully we'll just swap that to that and bypass that filter for the time being. And what I've done, as you can see, I've taken that out the back, which is on the outlet side of that element, that bowl. That's done away with, and I've put the inlet side, which is there, on the inlet side of the lift pump. And to be fair, it's quite unusual to have a pre-filter before the lift pump. I like the idea. There's nothing wrong with it. You can see if there's any water getting in there, and that's a good way of doing it. That's a brilliant way of doing it. But most companies, when they built machines, there was an extra cost there to put that in. So they just literally went from the tank to here, which is what we're now doing. So we're not doing anything unusual, and then we might be able to primer up on the old lift pump. And as I said, because we've introduced some air in there now, we're going to have to bleed it through the other side. Right, so that is now straight to the tank as it would normally be. But we need to get the air out. So the next thing we're going to do is check that there is fuel in the tank. And if there is, we'll bleed this through. And that way we know we've at least got some fuel. It's fuel, and we'll have a little clean up. See if we can see anything whatsoever on here. I don't really think we can.
It ain't got no gas in it.
Yeah, it's got plenty of fuel in there. It's right there. You just can't see it on that thing there. There you go, look. Oh. Yeah, so there's about half a tank in there. Let's bleed that air out of the system, shall we? Not going to bother doing it. Well, I could do it at the pump, I suppose. But no, let's get it out of here. If we can get it out of here, I'm sure we can get it going quick enough to bleed itself through with the help of maybe a little snort. Right, what we'll do is just check if it's got any coolant in here. That's seen better days. Oh yeah, look. Still stuff in there.
We want the finest wines available to humanity. We want them here, and we want them now.
A little bit of antifreeze in there. Don't try that at home. Mind you, probably better than some Austrian wines. Good, so we've got coolant. We've got oil. Let me just fold that back over there, obviously. Right, I've just undone this. We won't get anything there. And there you go. Ugh, that's spaffy old stuff. That is probably Brontosaurus spaff. That is that old. But anyway, that is some right old shite. But we are getting fuel up here now. So as you can see, that's the lift pump. So that's drawing it from the tank under like negative pressure, under suction this side, and then pushing it out under positive pressure that side. All right. Oh, you can smell us old. Oh, that's the good stuff. That's a right old mix. I wouldn't like to cast aspersions. I half wonder if there ain't a bit of heating oil in there. You never know. Anyway, point is, we've got fuel to here now, so hopefully we can then push it through to, this exhaust is just coming apart. We can push it through to the other side and into the filter. This is just going to all disintegrate and go mad if this thing fires up. There we go. I can hear something now. All right, so we've got fuel right up there. Get rid of that. If we can get power to the starter, as I said, we can then use a little bit of the old ether bunny. Right, and then and again, for anybody that thinks, you know, oh, you use ether, it'll become addicted, don't even fucking go there, because it won't become addicted. If this is so worn that every time you have to use ether to fire it up, it's not the ether. It's this. It needs an overhaul. Ether is not an in-frame rebuild kit in a can, all right? It's good for when you've got like an engine that hasn't been started or you've done a rebuild. What you can do is use the ether to get warmth into the cylinders, so there's a better chance of ignition, and also it will start getting the engine to run quicker, as it's just running on the ether initially, and that will draw the fuel from the tank because the pump is running quicker, right? So that's why ether is great, and it does no harm. If cold weather, ether, no harm. As I said, if it's got to be used every time to start it, it's not the ether. It hasn't become addicted. It means that the engine is bollocksed, basically. So it's an engine issue, not an ether issue. And anybody that goes on about, oh yeah, but my mate's dog's best friend's cat's budgerigar, that had an engine and that was addicted, or the rings broke or whatever, because it was knackered in the first place. And you kept using ether rather than addressing the problem. And if you still believe that engines can be addicted to ether, just can go lay down.
That's pretty much the point, sir. Not much grey area in this one.
Right, Marcus, so we have coolant, we have oil, we have fuel of some description. We now need to get some power. This battery is as flat as a witch's tit, obviously. And then we'll see if we've got anything from up in the cab. We'll try it first. We'll give it a go, because you know, so if there's a key in there or whatever in the ignition, or we can use a screwdriver. If not, we'll go straight to here. But first, let's get these off. Because of the state of these terminals, what I've decided to do is actually cut them off, because they're going to be no good anyway on another battery, because the actual connections are just so corroded.
Oh, would you look at that?
So I thought I'd better invest in a new battery. It's about time, and we can have that for the Will It Start. So we got that one there. We went and got it here. Right, so we've got two new clamps on, battery clamps. We've got a brand new battery. Right, we have, in theory, we've got fuel, water, oil, and we now have a power source. But do we have ignition? I don't know. I don't know. And that's what we have to see next. But what I'm going to do is just clear up some of these tools, so if we do attempt to have a start, it doesn't all of a sudden fire up and rattle off the side. Like I've never done that before. Right, well, I'm gonna just go up into here and we'll have a look and see what we've got. It's all very basic in here, you can probably imagine, but right, and we have got some kind of an ignition key. If it's not seized, is it? Oh no. Do we have any lights, any power? Nothing apparent. Okay. I don't even know what. Oh, there you are. So this is neutral, revert. My word, that is solid. Anyway, it's in neutral. And there's a, looks like a starter thing. So I don't know. It's got a key and it's got. Oh, we've got a bit of life in. All right. So maybe that is like an ignition and heater, and that is the starter, but the starter is stuck. Well, we might go direct to the starter motor then, and that comes. Oh, I don't know how this. There must be some sort. Just the handle is just disintegrated. Oh, but there we go. I don't think that's going to make much difference. No. All right. Well, we'll go out to the back and we will see if we can't get a tune directly from the starter down there. So here we are. We've got that. We've got power to there. That's all going to blow everywhere, and I know that. I'm going to stand from the other side actually. We'll see if we can just get it to clunk and turn over first. If we can, we'll then turn her over, you know, a bit quicker, and we may need to introduce a little bit of that, but we'll see. Right, let's have a go. Well, that's a start anyway. Well, it's not start, but it's a start that is turning over well. We've got a valve stuck open, the sounds of that. Now, there's been a few videos recently of people doing will it start, you hear exactly that, and they're all like, oh, the crank's gone, or oh, I saw blow by. The valve stuck open. Now, if we can get it to fire up, it might just shake itself free. If not, we'll just take that valve cover off, and then we'll just bang them with a hammer, and the springs may let it go free. Right, okay, well, we are not getting much of a tune from it here. I can just see, actually, does that mean it does? That does that. Let me just check again now. It's good as getting a bit of oil round it, hopefully. It may just be that the O-rings are gone. We've undone that. Well, there's a flat copper washer. I might put a few RPM. Oh, it's just got a foot throttle and a big spring, return spring, and the thing is, that's wanting to lift up. There's no hand throttle as such, but it's not to say get a bit of weight on the throttle, that might help things a little bit. Right, here we go again. Expect to go and shut that down. All right, so there we go. We're getting an increase in RPM. As you said, I'm just finding that balance with the ether, not to get it to knock, but not just to give it a squirt and hope that's going to last for an hour. But as I said, I've got a bit of weight on the throttle at the moment because a few RPM often helps. Not too much. I haven't got to wound flat out, so it just fucking red lines. But I got, as soon as she does fire, I've got to rush around and just then hopefully work it on the throttle. Let's go again. That's well, she runs. Now I'm going to take the weight off that. So all I've got is looks like a gallon drum of water or something in it, some coolant. So I've got that on the throttle to get that result, to get it to fire. But the crack coming out of that old muffler, I just want to just get it to stop so I can now take that weight off, and we'll try under a bit more calm and controlled conditions. So let's just move that. Right, what a little bit more. Right, we just had one phone die, but we did get the money shot. So we're going to carry on now with Sid's phone. Right, let's have a go here again, shall we? Let's see if we can. A bit more on the throttle. I don't want too much though. So what I'm doing is a bit of a bodge, obviously, but I'm going to put a cable tie around here. Just to there. This is on the throttle down here, and I can then pull it as much or as little as I want. So it's basically going to act like a hand throttle. You know, needs must when the devil vomits in your kettle, or whatever the phrase is. To get this started, because obviously stood for a long time, it's at idle, and I haven't got a hand throttle. I've only got the foot throttle in there, and as I said, that foot throttle is either, because there's a big spring on there, and I could take the spring off, but then it's always good to have it. You're far better off to have your default setting as idle. The foot throttle is either sort of full, you know, flat out or off. So I just need a little bit more. So I'm gonna do this. It's got a little bit. I can always tighten up. If I start it again now, and it's still not enough, I can give it a little bit more. Almost. Right, let's, with that in mind, what I'm going to do is just give her a few more RPM on the old cable tie hand throttle. How much ether? Fucking all of it. Right, we'll go again. Running on around, no ether, nothing. That valve is still sticking, but we can look at that.
How dare you?
Don't forget, most of the smoke goes straight out the side. Coming straight out of that manifold. I think we're going to have that cylinder, I think we have to have that rocker cover off, I think. Let me just get a few more revs on here. But it runs. It runs. you could hear that valve is open. It's obviously not a huge amount because it's not colliding with the piston, but it's enough that it's not seating correctly. I'm also now getting covered in coolant, which means that looking at that, the clamp mont's doing on it. But there we are. Weatherall. Will it start? Well, yeah, it does. And it runs. I half wonder, tell you what, before we finish this episode, let's get her fired back up again on 5 cylinders. Let's see if we've got any hydraulic pressure to work the front bucket. Let's do that, shall we? Now it doesn't sound like there's much oil in here if you ask me, but let's see what, if anything works. Well, that sounded like a hose going. I think the hose is split. Anything? Oh yeah, we've got a hose gone. That's that hose there. Oh, well I think that's the lift cylinder, so that's not going to be working. Bugger! So there we go, muckers. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out, because, as I said, a year ago I didn't know what really stood here, and today I didn't really know if we took the side covers off if it was going to be a complete disaster and, you know, end of the video. It's seized solid, that's that. As it turns out, will it start? Yeah, it does, and we've got it running, as I said. And I'll come back, get that rocker cover off, and I'll get those valves freed up so she runs on all 6. But as I said, it runs, it starts up and all that. It's fantastic. But here's the thing, question time. And this is where I want your opinion on what happens next. So now we know that the whole thing runs and whatever, that's good. As I said, that is a successful will it start. And now we can just carry on and we can look at other bits of kit and carry on doing other videos. Or do we actually see if we can get it moving under its own steam? So there we go, muckers. That is the question for this week. Put your answers in the squid pit below this video, in the comment section. Do you want to go and just go to the next video and we'll film whatever that may be? Or do I return here in the next few weeks and start on to this again once I've replaced the hose and put some wind in the tyres and stuff like that, and see if we can get it to move under its own steam? So in the comment section, put your answer. Do you want next video or will it move? That's up to you. So there we go, muckers. I really enjoyed that one. As you know, as I said, it was all bets are off as to whether that would actually turn or, you know, or it's just absolutely knackered. But as it turned out, old girl ran. Didn't it, dog? You couldn't come out, could you? Because we didn't want to get thorns in your paws, did we? No, we didn't. That would have been very good, would it? Anyway, muckers, if you'd give the video a like, and especially a share, then it doesn't cost you a penny, but it makes a massive difference to the channel and the content that we can bring you. So yeah, so if you give it a like or a share, that would be much appreciated, wouldn't it, dog? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you on the next one. Do well.